Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to review FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And I am excited to present to staff and faculty and all district employees today. Today we're going to cover 6 main objectives. We're going to talk about FERPA and how it's defined and how we can stay compliant with the laws that surround FERPA. We're going to talk about immigration and customs in schools. We're going to talk about surveillance cameras in schools and the teacher's guide for understanding FERPA. We're going to talk about improving FERPA's effectiveness and efficiency. And we're going to talk about the roles of resource officers and law enforcement when it comes to FERPA. So let's talk about how FERPA is defined. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's a federal privacy law that gives parents certain protections with regard to their children's education records, such as report cards, transcripts, disciplinary records, contact and family information, and class schedules. Under FERPA, school districts must maintain the confidentiality of all personally identifiable information in education records related to each of their students. So how can we at USD 382 stay compliant? We can do just what we're doing today. We can raise awareness for FERPA. We can confirm that FERPA applies to each and every one of us. We can know the rights, protections, and exemptions. We can choose compliant vendors. We can train all school employees. We can implement policies and procedures to stay compliant. We can encrypt files and emails, and we can also implement other preventative measures. How can we protect our schools from getting FERPA violations? Together, we can work together. We must shred all student records when we are finished using them. We must be cautious choosing vendors if they share student information. It will be the school's fault if vendors share students' information. We must know when to release and when to withhold records. And parents have a right to student information up until those children turn 18. We must be cautious with what information we share within a school day about students and what takes place with our students. Immigration and customs in schools. Under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, school district must maintain the confidentiality of all personally identifiable information in education records related to each student. SROs, or school resource officers, generally have no role in the removal of undocumented students, and SROs are not required to report undocumented students. Access to student records should only be allowed if the requesting agency has a valid court order or subpoena in compliance with FERPA or immigration laws or regulations. Surveillance cameras in schools. It's crazy how fast this has been implemented in our schools, but 94% of high schools now have security cameras to monitor students. It's important to know that surveillance cameras have become one of the cornerstones of school safety in our security plans. However, they also raise some legal issues. Courts have generally upheld video surveillance recordings in school hallways, stairwells, school buses, school parking lots, and even classrooms. School leaders should always consult with legal counsel prior to enabling audio recordings. What can our teachers do in regards to FERPA? FERPA prohibits the release of personally identifiable information contained in an educational record unless it's direct information. Teachers cannot disclose information such as grade reports, health records, disciplinary records, or attendance records, GPA, academic or physical testing reports. All of that must be kept private. Teachers should always ask if they are unsure before disclosing information. How should we destruct some of the data when we are done using it? Data should be appropriately managed across the entire data lifecycle from capture to destruction. FERPA does not require educational agencies and institutions to destroy education records maintained as part of a regular school or agency operation. We must always think clear, purge, and destroy. And by destroy, we really should shred all student records when we are finished using them. Resource officers and school officials. SROs generally have no role in the removal of undocumented students. And I'm missing a little piece here, but school officials is a specific defined. Not everybody can have access to student records. The ones here that we see the most here at Liberty would be our secretaries have that information, our principals, our board members, our superintendent, but not everybody gets the title of a school official to look at student records. So we need to make sure that we know, and if we don't know, then we should always ask. Tips for parents. Parents have the right of their adult-age children to inspect and receive a copy of student records. They have the right to deny access to others, specifically those outside the school system. They have a right to a process to correct errors, including a hearing. They have the right to opt out of military recruitment. They have the right to opt out of the disclosure of students' directory information. And they have a compliant process handled by the Family Compliance Office of the U.S. Department of Education. So these are all things that parents can do in regards to the FERPA laws and regulations. Things to always remember. Be watchful on technology to not accidentally give out student information. Know who can look at student records, and again, destroy or shred all records when finished with them. Protecting our students' privacy and being compliant with FERPA laws is the job of teachers, schools, and districts.